what you see here on the screen is an example of another housing project, a competition as a matter of fact, in which several third-year students, a couple of years, were engaged. Actually, that was the winter of 1973-74, right after the energy crunch hit us. Let me just run through these things. Jim McGuire, who has graduated by now, entered this particular competition entry. Steel structure in response to energy conservation. The point I'm trying to make here with a series of slides is that we feel that energy-conscious design in general, and particularly solar energy, of course, needs to be tackled with on a very broad scope. Actually, it needs to be covered, particularly in the design, and also needs to have heavy support from various other teaching areas. The Reynolds aluminum competition of last year, a 3-week problem, dealt with an encapsulator, a living, learning encapsulator, dealing with the energy problem on a very basic level. And maybe at the end, that is one of the pet ideas of Bill Kinst. You might like to refer to this particular item. Barely visible, because I didn't find any better slides, is the thesis project of one of our recent graduates, Robert Zandy. This is a typical example of how energy-conscious design is integrated in various design projects. It's particularly significant because this is one of the 2 entries of our college which will be published in a forthcoming publication by the Energy Research Corporation on innovative design concepts for energy-conserving buildings, results of a national competition among students in schools of architecture. So Robert Zandy entered this particular warehouse project, which uses the soil as, let's call it, a heat sink. And I think also Bill Kinst might like to reflect a little bit on and elaborate on this particular concept. At the beginning of this quarter, I ran a 2-day sketch problem as a warm-up for our current 3rd-year AIA Research Corporation housing project, solar energy exhibit by Kevin Smith and Dennis Wetzel. How do you exhibit solar energy? Our 3rd-year students are currently finishing the presentation drawings for this housing competition Bob had just mentioned. In addition, Bob Köster, Bill Kinst. Also on the 3rd-year team are Bob Taylor, Harry Chen, and Tony Costello. So that is the project in between solution, so to speak, of Steve Juarez. We consciously try to build our expertise. One of the good things to do is, of course, to look around what other people are doing. I would like to flash here on the screen some few impressions. A research trip I undertook this spring to California, particularly. On the right-hand side, you see a passive system, the Hayes system, which was evaluated under $50,000 grant by faculty members of Caltech in San Luis Obispo. I show you some few things. How does it work? Basically, you have a body of water under panels which open by a small reactor during daytime to collect energy for heating in wintertime, or reversely in summertime. Of course, the panels will be closed, and the cold water, the cool air, of course, cools it during the nighttime when the panels are open, will provide cooling in summertime. Low technology system. Some impressions from the campus in San Luis Obispo, they are pretty much comparable to our college, not in the big city, and they built houses, quite a few of them. They have a whole, I think, 14 acres of land, and they are dotted with projects built by students applying innovative principles of structural design, design in general. Currently they are building under a HUD grant a solar energy house at that university. I just learned this. Another example, I undertook this trip with our first graduate student, Johannes Dicko, and we also studied, of course, on the left-hand side, a sort of regional touch, adobe buildings, which nowadays we call heat sinks, very good for energy conservation. Johannes was dealing with something also connected with energy conservation on a very broad scope. Recycling of old buildings, and again, Birkinst, I think, will reflect on this. Again, Birkinst, your name is everywhere, bro. You remember what that is? That's next to that's the dining hall of Stanford Research. And they built they are very heavy in this atomic stuff, of course, linear accelerator and all this. And they have here the dining hall and built a small collector. Energy conscious, not solar heated car. I met a very interesting group, which basically was a group of physicists and scientists from these local areas around San Francisco, Palo Alto, which builds solar energy houses. They devise their own system. The so-called Alton Associates, alternative energy sources, building new houses. Let me just flip through these. With some elaborate wiring up and including quite a number of retrofits. I enjoyed very much their hospitality and had the pleasure of taking a solar shower and sleeping in a solar heated house, which you see right here, this retrofitted house. The storage tank, some of the gadgets. The results of my trip are included in this particular documentation, which you will find also on the Energy Research Library shelf. Let me mention just two things we have proposed. I'll read to you a research proposal which will lead to the development of a Ball State University Research and Demonstration House. And I just read briefly in the interest of time. Energy conservation, reads the abstract of my proposal, is a key issue of national priority which need urgent attention in the building industry. It is proposed to re-examine the residents in a basic context, including socio-economic factors, innovative technological and design principles with an emphasis on energy conservation. Based on the research data collected, the development of a Ball State University Research and Demonstration House is proposed. Pending is also a $50,000 proposal to the U.S. Energy Research and Development Administration, which is basically an energy workshop, and I'll read you the abstract also. It is clear, and that is a quote from Thomas Kibler, Director of the Indiana Office of Energy. It is clear that our greatest challenge in energy conservation efforts is to convince the public of the overriding importance of energy in the future. They just don't believe us. Informed professionals in the planning and building fields must help get the message to the private sector. We are aware that there is a great need in the Midwest to do more in this respect. So what we proposed, and all energy faculty contributed to this, and particularly Dan Woodfin helped to write this proposal, which reads, architects will play a critical role in future public education and problem solving at precisely the point where energy constraints affect everyday lives. Addressing the energy crisis will require the balanced, multi-factor problem-solving approach, which is traditional architectural education. At the Ball State University College of Architecture and Planning and at several Midwestern schools of architecture, designated energy faculty are focusing on improved energy education for architects. The proposed workshop series will be offered to these educators and will be directed to the question of energy-conscious design, specifically to the development of energy-related educational methods and materials. Packages to be developed will be determined jointly by the selected participants and a team of distinguished lecturers and consultants. Generally, they will cover the areas from energy-responsive site planning and development at the largest scale of the built environment to the smaller scale of detailed materials, equipment, and systems selection and planning. What we have in mind is to help to teach teachers to teach energy. The other thing I'm supposed to talk about is a trip I undertook with Dan Woodfin to the Chicago area, which included a visit of the 1976 Building and Construction Expo, Energy Equipment Exhibition, McCormick Place, which was conducted and held in Chicago, November 18th, 19th. We saw a lot of things. Basically, I could have shown you a number of things we had seen earlier from Stan Adams' collection. It was all there, and in our memo, which is included in another summary report on this experience, we write that the exhibition had an impressive array of solar technology, energy conservation hardware, and exhibits. In fact, the 1976 Building Expo was perhaps most impressive in terms of the percentage of total exhibit space devoted to this subject. One who attended the exhibit was visibly impressed by the apparent reality and seriousness of industry effort. The things we have talked about in the future tense were sitting on the supermarket shelf in McCormick Place. We collected a lot of material which is included in this particular brochure also on the shelf, including a piece of a real collector. With this, I would like to turn it over to Dan to report on the Argonne conference.